I love my wife but I can't decide if I don't want to live with her or if I even want to live at all. How do I get out of this? TLDR, I'm so miserable because of the environment my wife creates and our other issues that I want to leave. I also don't want to leave because I love her so much. I feel like my only escape is suicide. This is a throwaway and some details are slightly altered to prevent recognition. Apologies for the length, and please don't bother referring me to the suicide stuff because I've been reading all about it and it isn't particularly convincing. Before my story, I'm sure you're curious about the age difference. I met the person who would become my wife when I was in my late teens. I was introduced to her since she was in a line of work I was interested in and I had questions. We struck up a friendship, not at all romantic, that lasted for many years before it finally did turn romantic. When I turned 19 I initiated and she agreed. No grooming was happening. We just clicked. This is in the USA, BTW. More background. We've been married for a very long time now. No kids by mutual choice. She's the love of my life, and the age difference hasn't really played into things much. It has advantages, if anything, since early in our relationship she could guide us through complex things like buying a home. I'm a generally fearful person and her confidence at navigating the world emboldened me. I'm not sure any generational differences have affected things, either, but you may disagree as I continue. Early in our marriage the economy went bust and she was unable to work. She got into a hell of a depressed state so I kept us afloat on my very, very low wages for a long time. She tried to find work every so often. Once, she found a role and quit within a month. Aside from selling some things she creates online, and that has never earned very much, she hasn't worked a day since. She has helped me in my career with advice, sometimes reviewing my work and making suggestions. And she was very helpful because my career, which is the same as her former career, was finally taking off. Thanks to her help early on I recently reached director level, far outstripping where she'd left off. I'm grateful to her for the help. Back in the early 2010s we went through an extremely rough patch. It wasn't anything so simple as infidelity, it was just mutual misery. I'd been unemployed for a while. Whenever I'm unemployed she gets very, very tense. She's worried we'll end up on the street if one of us gets hurt and healthcare costs ruin us. So she pushes me, cajoles, yells, prods, begs, pleads, for me to find a job. When I job hunt I spend all day, from sunrise to sunset, hunting. After exhausting traditional methods I resort to other methods like working my network, cold emailing hiring managers, all sorts of things. But her pressure really spikes our stress level. So, the time in question, I'd been unemployed for over a year. I had been working contract gigs and actually earning more than my full-time job, but because we didn't have healthcare she was still freaking out. I couldn't take it anymore because we were in this self-sustaining misery cycle and was having thoughts of suicide, so I threatened to leave. I did leave, for one night, but came back when she asked. We worked it out but I seriously harmed the trust between us and it hasn't quite recovered. Fast forward a decade. A few months ago I became unemployed for the first time since the time in the last paragraph. I had a really bad feeling about it. Beyond the obvious, we've had troubles in the neighborhood and I've been wanting to move to a new home for a long time because I don't feel safe. But we're in a city we love, there's nowhere else we'd rather be. Plus with the economy the way it is we'd sell our home at a loss and end up with a much higher cost of living. And no one would rent to us or give us a mortgage with me unemployed. Also, for perhaps the past year or so, she's told me that she's hit her limit with me on certain character traits of mine which may be ADHD related. I'm undiagnosed. If I have ADHD I'm pretty high functioning. I have a very poor memory about things we've talked about, small promises I've made. I do classic ADHD things like get up to take care of a chore, get sidetracked and do 5 other chores, then think I'm done and go read a book only for her to wonder why the main chore wasn't done. When stressed I don't share with her, I just retreat into my own little bubble. I have always had really shitty self-esteem and it pisses her off when I say anything disparaging about myself. I tend to run away from problems rather than deal with them. There's probably more. I'm working on all that, and more, but it is slow going. So, last few weeks things have gotten really ugly. I'm at rock bottom, emotionally, because I don't feel safe in my own home due to the neighborhood issues. She's constantly after me to find work which has only become harder now that I'm so senior because there are 1, fewer jobs and 2, few jobs that pay what we need to maintain our standard of living. I've offered to expand my search to slightly lower paying jobs. We'll be living hand to mouth but will have benefits, but that's not enough anymore. The pay has to at least be in the same ballpark. So I'm job hunting all day. She's pushing me to get work, and criticizing my methods, a thing I've really come to resent given her history with work, and out of patience with my emotional issues and personality quirks. I lost it a few weeks ago and threatened to leave again. She talked me down, again. But the tension hasn't eased up and her pushing me to get work and fix my issues has intensified. I don't intend to abandon her. She can have everything, an amount that should suffice for a single person for the rest of her life. I'll make a new start somewhere else. I have a prescription for an anxiety medication but she begs me not to take it because it has been linked to Alzheimer's, or something like it. My only relief is marijuana but I can't take that during the day because I need to stay sharp so it only helps me sleep. So, here I am. Trapped in a home I don't feel safe in and cannot leave due to finances, harassed by the person I love, plagued with my own personal demons, unemployed and, not only have I not had an enjoyable, relaxing moment since my layoff months ago, I've been stressed the whole time. So I've been thinking of killing myself. Thinking about it a lot. Last night I realized what I'd been going through and shared with her, opened up, and she just yelled at me about everything. I received no sympathy and it makes me never want to open up to her again. Comment. I wanna give you a hug, man. I hope it all gets better for you. Same. If you can get away, even on a friend's couch, just for a week, it might be less stressful while you look for a job. Don't frame it as a punishment or leaving, just get some time to yourself away for your neighborhood for a while. And start taking your meds. A possible link to something is not as important as your brain functioning now. I feel like she's been such a constant in your life for so long you think you are too scared to be without her. In my opinion it's not love, it's codependency. You don't even realize how there's no limit to the happiness you can feel when you don't have an anchor the size of a manipulative 60-something-year-old woman. Go get free. It'll be hard and painful in the beginning but the only way you can go from rock bottom is up. Next story 2. Boyfriend cheated while trying to get me pregnant. I went to Europe for a week without him because he doesn't have any money and needed to work. When I came home, I noticed that some of the things in my home were off. I asked who had been in my house and he said he didn't know what I was talking about. I pointed out specific things that were moved out of place and he suddenly remembered that he let a group of people spend the night at my house. I asked why he didn't have them stay at his house and he got angry with me. The context is that we don't live together and he wants to move in with me. I own my house and it is small. I explained that I felt truly disrespected and he didn't understand. He was just a dick tbh. We argued and spent the night apart. The next day we talked again and I told him that I was feeling really afraid and vulnerable because I was afraid I might be pregnant. He acknowledged that and understood since he had been trying to get me pregnant. He apologized. We talked and it seemed like everything was okay. He wanted to spend another night apart because he didn't want to potentially fight in front of the teenage child that I had been caring for because of other family issues. The following day he picked myself and said child up and drove us to my biological dad's vacation home, where he told my dad that he wants to get married and have our own child. He asked my dad for help buying a house for us. About a week and a half later I said that I was really sick of his attitude. He was just being grumpy constantly and it was making me feel really bad. I told him I was experiencing a mental health crisis and he needed to tell me what was going on before I totally lost my mind. He didn't. I said I thought maybe we should break up. We didn't talk for a few days. We met up to talk and he was a sobbing wreck. He told me that he had slept with someone else during this break, and that he regretted it. He referred to the girl as not pretty and said that he was wasted and she followed him home from the bar a couple of nights before. He also told me that he got an STD test immediately. I asked to see the test and the date on it was the date that we went to the vacation home together, 2 weeks prior. I pointed this out and he said that he forgot. In pushing for the whole story I learned, according to him, that while I was away he met this person and flirted and got her number. They started and the reason he wanted to spend the second night alone after our fight was because he wanted to go have with her. His version of events was that he immediately regretted it and wanted her to leave him alone, but she wouldn't. I said I wanted to talk to the affair partner and he told me that she is crazy. I did speak with her, but they had a conversation earlier in that day to prepare. She seemed remorseful but also she very obviously lied about a few details. She let me know that he had run into her a few days before and probably knew he would be caught, so that's why he came clean. It turns out he had told several people at the bar he hangs out with that we were broken up, and they were supportive of him starting this new relationship with one of their friends. He says he will never go back to that bar, but I know it's just because he's embarrassed to be outed as a liar. It's got nothing I do with respect for me. He says that he wasn't really lying because he did want to break up with me. He apologized to the other woman for lying to and about her, because I told him he had to. I think he really believes that it is my fault he cheated and lied. Oftentimes when he gets frustrated he will say something like, "This is why I cheated." He constantly bends the timeline to blame the fight that we had when I got home from vacation, but we know that the affair already began by then on some level. He truly just cannot be honest with himself about what he's done. He always says it was just this one incident, but there are countless lies wrapped up on this one incident. He did apologize and request therapy immediately after he told me about the affair. He is a good and supportive partner in a lot of ways. I don't have a lot of support in my life aside from him, very messy family, and friends are all busy with their own lives. I could be pregnant now, and if I were he would be delighted, but I really feel afraid to have a baby with this man. I don't know if I will ever have respect for him again, let alone trust. Is there any way he's not just an asshole? Could this just be one mistake? Comment. Girl. Literally run far away from this guy. He cheated on you. Lied about it? Lied about the timeline. And you say he only came clean because he knew he was going to get caught anyway. Now he's blaming you for his actions. He may be 30 but he's not a grown man. This is high school behavior at best. He has made it very clear that he simply doesn't respect you. If he did, he wouldn't have cheated in the first place. He clearly can't accept responsibilities for his own actions. He will do it again and he'll probably blame you for it again too. Don't let him do that to you. Trust me, you do not want to get stuck with this guy for the rest of your life by having his kid. Do yourself a favor and get the fuck out of this relationship. Like I would have been done when he disrespected my home. I would rather be alone than take on that amount of stress, abuse, and risk STDs/pregnancies with this leech.